Good morning, Denise Dryden here. I'm on Bainbridge Island and I'm going to change things up. I've been doing videos for 3.5 years, focusing on parents and family dynamics and partnerships, and I'm always going to do that. But there's this whole part of me that the world doesn't even know exists, which is like, how do we do metaphysical living? How do we do multidimensional living? And how do we sustain ourselves while we're dealing with some of these challenges that are coming in with our sensitivities, our empathic skills, our parenting, our dynamics in relationship and in work. So I'm really going to change this up from here, from this point forward, because it's my birthday, because it's March, because we're in a new spring, because 2020 is dynamic, and it's just time to put some new stuff out there. So I want to talk about metaphysical living. So metaphysical, you know, I've got to have my notes, right? Metaphysical comes from metaphysica, which is Greek, and it means after the things of nature, which means the things that you can't see, the things that aren't in form, the things that aren't in matter, is what they call metaphysical. So it's human experiences that are non-physical. It's outside the human sense perception, things that you can't see, taste, touch, feel, right? But feel is sort of an interesting one. And it's the relationship between mind and matter. So metaphysics is this branch of philosophy that deals with sort of the nature of reality, which is how do we know what's real and what isn't real? And for me, that's like my favorite zone to play with, because even in our parenting, even in our relationships, even in our sense of self, what's real and what isn't, right? So I'm a metaphysician. I've been doing this for years. I study at mystery school. I'm a historian, I'm an educator, and I've worked in the parent-child dynamics for 25 years. So what I have been doing for the last 10 years is focusing on the energy body. What are the chakras? What are the meridians? What are the systems that help us work with our entire being, whether it's this big like who we are or it's as enormous as this room, right? And so as this energy being, there's a lot of care and nurturing that needs to take place that's different than what we normally do. So what I wanted to do is take that concept and then go over to a topic that you can go back in my videos and look at. I have talked about being an HSP, a highly sensitive person, and being an empath. So when we're dealing with high sensitivity, we're looking at depth of processing. We're looking at overstimulation. We're looking at emotional reactions. We're looking at sensitivity or senses and our sensations being over triggered, right? And so being highly sensitive means that there are unseen things that come into our reality that don't make sense to us, either ourselves or the people we care about, and we're trying to understand how that happens. Now, sensitives can also be empathic, which is where we pick up on mental and emotional information that either comes from another person or another sentient being, an animal. It could come from how we do nature. It could come from even the collective. The information that comes into this energy system isn't always something we can control, right? Ever. It isn't something that we can even say, oh, that happened over there, so that's what I'm feeling, because it's invisible. It's metaphysical. It doesn't come through form and structure, right? So we have this sensitive and this empathic skill set that now we're stepping into an awareness of what does that really mean. So I wanted to do a little plug right here in the middle that starting on March 9th through the 13th, the Shift Network is doing the Evolved Empath. This is the second year, and they've brought over 25 speakers together to talk about the different tools and skills and ways to harness empathic skills. Now, I get to be a presenter, second year in a row, and I'm on day 2, March 10th, and I'm gonna put a link to that on this Facebook and then also on my LinkedIn so that you can access that, okay? So an empath has the ability to apprehend mental or the emotional states of something else, right, beyond what we know. This is all external information. This is all out there, away from us, coming in. So when it comes into our energy field, when it comes into this energy body, this energy system, it's external. And what happens a lot, especially what we see in children, in 2s and 3-year-olds and in teens, and in some of our moods as adults, is that it just feels like this never stops, or that this happens and we have a reaction and the people around us don't know why we're having a reaction. So something does come in from the external, hit our energy system, and then, you know, we can have a response like joy. That was cool. Curiosity, like, what the heck was that? Fear, I don't like this. I don't like this room. I don't like this person. Or we even can go into this constant state of overwhelm, which is there's just information coming in at me all the time from different directions. I can feel the emotions of the people sitting in front of me. I can feel the classroom. I can feel the tension at work right now, especially right now with this this virus going around, is that there's a lot of external tension, a lot of chaos happening. And so what we know is that our bodies feel this. So not all people around us understand how much we feel. And so we have to learn to advocate for ourselves and say, I'm experiencing, I'm feeling. Some of the tips I used last week, which was to be able to communicate very clearly with what you're experiencing so that you can enlist others to help you, okay? So our bodies are taking this stuff in all the time. So we're absorbing it, we're digesting it, we're using our bodies as a filter. And we also can stay in a constant adrenal sort of fight or flight. We have stress. It affects our moods. It affects our digestion. And so after you have these pieces of information coming through and you're struggling with them and you take years and years and years of this, you know, we start to, empaths and sensitives, anyone who's highly reactive to external information, we start to have some really core physiological issues, okay? So one of the ones that happens is that they turn into physical ailments, and it could be things like inflammation. It could be things like adrenal fatigue. It could be autoimmune. It goes right straight after our immune system. It can look at like cognitive overload, which is I'm trying to figure this out all the time and my brain never slows down. So we have digestion, we have gut, we have, for me personally, I've got a leaky gut. My digestion system was trashed somewhere 20, 30 years ago under a lot of duress. Between parenting, between marriage, between leaving a marriage, and all of this just sort of went straight into my gut. And what I'm doing now is I'm constantly having to balance what's going on externally with how I'm going to nurture this body. And I see on here that I've got some names coming through, and yoga's been one of those. Is that I do gentle yoga 3 times a week, and I move my body so that the joints and the inflammation have less to do. And there's less calcification. They're loosening up. They're helping. Okay, so yoga, definitely warm salt baths. But there's this morning tea that I sort of stumbled upon, and I made it up because I didn't really like the taste of it. And I came up with this concoction that I call my morning mate. And I wanted to share it with you because, again, this is metaphysical living, and I get to be in the kitchen, and this is one of my favorite things to do, okay? So for those people who know me, I cook and I nurture those around me, and I just never got a chance to talk about it on this video series, okay? So I work with Yerba Mate, and the reason I worked with Yerba Mate was that it's a South American herb, and it is an energy herb that gives me sort of that boost of coffee, but coffee goes up and then it goes down, and Yerba Mate sort of goes real slow and sustains. And so it's got an energy boost that helps me replace coffee. It has tremendous health benefits, just like most teas, and it has sort of that euphoria of chocolate. So when I sip it in the morning, I'm like, oh, there it is, okay? So it boosts, I just have a list here, it's pretty cool. It boosts mental function. It makes me feel smart, productive, and focused. It has vitamins in it, and it helps with my mood stabilization. It's got a digestive aid. It has a general nerve tonic, so it deals with fatigue, depression. It reacts to allergies, or it helps me with my allergies and my sinus stuff. And it boosts the immune system. It builds strong bones. Coffee deteriorates bones. Yerba Mate builds bones, especially for those of us who are postmenopausal. It's heart healthy, and it has in its extract form can kill cancer cells. So, so what I do is, I've got my little thing here, because I have a bulk, because it's so much cheaper to buy it in bulk, right? And then I can either put it in a little tea bag, my own, about a teaspoon, or put a teaspoon in one of these, and just add hot water, and let it sit for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then I put it in a really big, warm, juicy mug, okay? And then there's things that I put in this mug, and there's reasons I put them in there. So the first thing that I do is I put coconut oil. And I've got my notes here because each of these has so many benefits. So coconut oil is about skin and teeth and hair. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's an antimicrobial, right? And it's got good HDL, so it helps with cholesterol. So I put a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of coconut oil in my tea, and then I add this little magic mix, which, I cheat a little bit. I buy pumpkin spice and then I add some more, or I just make up my own, right? So it's a spice combination, and it smells, oh my God, it smells so good because it's everything in fall, in winter, in pumpkin pie that I love. So first, it has cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom, allspice, and clove. And I keep it in proportions, and I have a tendency to be a little heavy on the nutmeg and the cardamom because of the health benefits. Cinnamon is an antioxidant, it's an anti-inflammatory, it lowers your blood sugar levels, so it's really good for diabetics. It reduces the LDL cholesterol. It reduces neurocognitive disorders, so it helps with memory, and it's really, really high in polyphenols. And so is, any of these olive oils that you can buy that have a really, really, really extra virgin high count. So I do a lot of polyphenols because it helps with my digestion, and it helps with me being able to stay healthy in my body, okay? So in addition to cinnamon, I've got nutmeg, which is a pain relief. It soothes indigestion. It detoxifies the body. It alleviates any kind of oral issue in my mouth, and it reduces insomnia. And then I add cardamom in here, which is a mood booster. It's an antidepressant. It's, again, an antimicrobial. It's heart health. It's really good for mouth, breath, cavities, and for odor. And it's a liver detoxifier. So cardamom, who knew, okay? So then I go to allspice, which its main issue is that it's digestive comfort, okay? It's anti-inflammatory, specific to the gut, and it has this ability to deal with bloating, to deal with stomach upset, to deal with gas, to deal with anything that sort of soothes your stomach, right? So allspice. And then the last one is clove. Again, anti-inflammatory. It improves digestion. You can put clove oil on a toothache and it will just relieve it temporarily. And this goes after respiration. It sort of opens your lungs up. It gives you a healthy stomach, and it deals with headaches. So quite unconsciously, I've got coconut oil. I've got now this little wonderful thing. So I put like about a quarter of a teaspoon, just a little bit, to a half a teaspoon, depending on how I feel. And then I top it with some local honey, because I prefer honey, and I can use Manuka honey, or I can use any of the local sourced honey, because I like to work with the honey that comes from the region, because then it goes directly after my body and my allergies of what I'm exposed to all the time. Or you can use, where's one of these, which is a, stevia, a vanilla flavored stevia, or you can use whatever, or you can, if you don't have a sweet tooth, you don't need it. And then I usually top it off with, I use a hemp milk or a coconut milk, or my new favorite is Oatly and oat milk. So then I've got this really warm, creamy, little delightful thing. And I sit there in the morning and I can go through one of these as I start my day. And what I notice is that everything falls in place. I have my stability, I have my focus, my stomach is set, my inflammation goes down. And so now I'm taking something that I actually physically bring into form to eat or drink, and what it does is it helps me work with the way that my energy comes in or out. It gives me tools to sustain this. So this is what I want to start to do, is not always have something about food, but to be able to access teas or herbs or foods when I need to, and to talk about that empathic and sensitivity is really about incorporating that into how we live on a day-to-day basis and how we interact with each other. I hope you like this. Give me some feedback, and I'll look forward to what comes up for me next week. Have a great week. Get out there and enjoy the spring. The daffodils are up, and have a good time. Talk to you. Oh, full moon tonight, depending on where you are, or tomorrow morning. So get out there and see the moon too. Take care. Bye-bye.